starring a sad wanker. That's no Undertaker, that's the Undie-taker. It looks like Johnbonne's having fun with Crash Bash. As much as I love Thor High Heels, he can be a right penis when it comes to giving me ideas. He suggests I return to a series I've struggled to find much joy in and redo all those reviews that are no longer around. That's right, I've already covered this try-hard, limbless hijinks toss before, even torturing myself with lesser-known titles like Junior, M.R. Thrush and Arena.
Who would have thought that such a successful company could fuck a game so hard?!
I may have been an idiot back then, but I had the smarts to recognise Raving Rabbids, the game that caused my stool to become charcoal when I first heard the name, would do nothing with a series of identity crisis cases known as Rayman.
Oh, what the bull fucking hell! Well, that's the Great Escape part over, now we're gonna do the fucking Revolution part!
It really is one of those games that makes me want to go back to the single player mode in party games I can't stand, like Crash Bash. At least then I'd have a wired controller to hang myself with.
You know, I thought this game was like for children and stuff, you know, family friendly. I mean, it's not even I can do it, and I'm 18 years old. How the fuck am I gonna do this? Oh, you asshole!
That's enough of that.
We'll get round to the discussion of whether this is a party game or a series of minigames or whatever, but it doesn't matter either way because it causes me physical pain to so much as think this preceded such classics as Origins and Legends. Why didn't we get those in 1995? There's two initial problems before the first cutscene of the game ends. One is Rayman, the other is the Raving Rabbids. Besides punching and helicopter hair, Rayman isn't remembered for much else as a character, and neither of those things really feature in this game. You can point to the mosquito riding, plums, spooky environments, the racism and other characters which I guess could star here, but that could be said of any classic platformer. For all the shit I give Crash Bash, it at least uses familiar assets, locations and characters that make the co-op campaign work and delude people into thinking the one player is fun. My point is that Rayman is the most average, the safest choice for this game. Fans adore him, or is it the games they adore? At least Sonic or Spyro would bring attitude and deserve to win. Rayman is just an everyman in the mascot platformer world. So now we've established that Rayman could go lower than the first game, we need to move on to the Rabbids. I'll confess that I found the commercials quite funny. The Rabbids would be shown in everyday situations and their ineptitude would cause them to screech in frustration. In fact, anything causes them to whoop and howl in that same monotone cry. These adverts were funny because they had a quiet build-up to a loud payoff, and because you didn't have to hand over money to see this jump scare equivalent of a joke. And that's the Rabbids, just weird-looking creatures that shout, and it goes on for about 9 hours. The entire game is carried by this running gag, and you're supposed to find these crude, violent, shouting white folk hilarious. Oh. At least Richard didn't have the same goddamn laugh. I'll let you decide what's funnier.
Funny the things you forget, eh?
Bottom isn't about one character carrying another, it's about two lowlives overcoming adversity and harebrained schemes. Rayman as a character is used as a vehicle to carry the Rabbids' debut because they have nothing of substance themselves. Like Skylanders, it couldn't kickstart itself without an established IP that people loved. The story of Raving Rabbids begins with Rayman having a picnic with Glowbox's children and they're kidnapped by the Rabbids. There's no reason for this and the Rabbids' world is never built upon besides some changes in cutscenes. You won't remember anything besides the hub, the cell and the gigantic rabbit guard. Well, maybe the blood in your urine. Crash Bash at least explained the minigames were to determine if good or evil is stronger. In fact, that game exists, shows Uka Uka 1 fair and square. The lobbies, level themes, music style and bosses had been established in previous games. Where's the Land of the Living Dead and Raving Rabbids? Where's the Great Protoon? Where's the Teensies? Where's the racism? I get this game as a spin-off, but it doesn't attempt to show any elements of what it's spinning off from. I guess the chain fist and the shooting sections is something? Anything else? No? Okay. The game is split up into days, with there being about 15 or so in total. In each day, Rayman can take part in 3 or 4 mini-games in a gladiatorial arena, or a baseball pitch, before going into the final task of the day. Before this, you can interact with your holding cell, changing Rayman's outfit, listening to licensed music that's been altered slightly to avoid copyright infringement, and take a shit. The costumes are one of 2 optional collectibles, allowing Rayman to look different in a couple of games where you're not in first-person view. I'd like to ask though, where's Tarzan, the bonus round guy, and his Rayman 3 forms? Where's the race? But the lobby isn't just bad, it's pointless! It fails to tell you which mini-games are behind each glowing door without going into them, and the controls are stiff. Well, they got that part from Rayman 1 right. In the lobby there's only 2 things you can guarantee. There'll be a rhythm minigame on the rightmost door, and the final challenge through the big door is either a race or a rail shooter. Out of the 3 activities, only the racing, which suffers from the greasiest controls I've ever faced since Crash Bash, makes me want to see what the next day brings. This is especially the case when it's hard to fail the dance-off and shooter sequence, both having a few inconsistent spikes in difficulty that only slow down the already snail-paced activities. Each day brings a total of 5 activities, 3 of which can be done in under a minute, and yet it feels like you're there for an hour. The end goal is just as overwhelmingly exhausting. Rayman has to win a plunger each day so he can reach a high window in his cell. You're always hoping in vain that you can escape with what you've got, but the game teases you and has a bird shit on your face. That right there sums up this game. You play because it's Rayman and you want to see him succeed, but progression leads only to an anal discharge. Speaking of which, burb. I can't fault Raving Rabbids for how many kinds of minigame it has, as well as how few are recycled. Even then they're still worth playing, what with the new challenges they bring. Kind of. You see, unlike a party game, there's not much in the way of a competitive element. For all its faults, Crash Bash still delivered edge of the seat elimination rounds, even if this is backed by poor collision detection and controls. In fact, beating the game in spite of that was hugely rewarding. Mario Party also had elements of time and scoring, but that helped your progress on the board, or sometimes detract from it. You were constantly having a good time. Hell, Crash Boom Bang attempted this, and from what I gather, did it quite well. Wait, did I just say Crash Boom Bang isn't total wank? Raving Rabbids is just doing things quickly or doing things plentifully, sometimes both, and your reward, it's the ability to do more of that. I suppose that if you want to do the multiplayer, these are good, but someone has to unlock these minigames in single player first, and who wants to revisit them when you've done them once already? Most of the appeal comes from these minigames being fresh, not because they're engaging or tempt you to strive for better rewards, god no. You win or you lose, and nobody cares how high your score is. Now, I don't hate minigames, but I do when they're bog standard, which they are in RRR. Well, not if you have the game on the Wii, because then you can use the Wiimote and nunchuck to smack, swipe and waggle everything the game needs you to do. Control plays a huge role in these games, well, all games really. It looks and feels desperate to slam 2 joysticks up and down, the same with the mouse. I might as well be masturbating.
Who said anything about masturbating?
The point I was trying to make was that the Wii version feels more involving, like it's a physical trial of endurance and stamina. Hell, WarioWare touched inappropriately did this well with the reflexes and dexterity required to beat the games. It was an onslaught of games that, while super simple and short, kept you engaged with its frantic requirements. Progress in Where's Wario proved something, and having the insanity to beat the game felt rewarding. Raving Rabbids could also do without that slow transition between matches. Wario Wank is just a stream of games, one after the other, where Rayman is just ploddy and drawn out. Okay, so the comparisons are getting out of hand. The reason why I've been furiously crash debating is because the gameplay is worth 1,000 words. But they're words I can't put into a sentence. Unless it's poo poo fuck poo wee wee poo 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 wank ass fuck ass wee poo shit poo.
Just stop talking!
There may be loads of minigames, but they boil down to being Simon Says and Whack-A-Mole, sometimes going into the realms of sports and playground activities. Which is fine if you're a kid, but what kid nowadays has the attention span for slow navigation of a repetitive lobby, getting shit on the face and sitting on the toilet? Mario Party boasts constant activity, Crash Bash offers challenge and multiple rewards, and Wario Place brings ADH, DDH, LSDDH in over-the-top seamless action. What itch does RRR scratch? The bad Rayman itch, that's what. but you don't want to scratch that or it bleeds, just like my colon. Visually, the game is as unremarkable as it gets for something that boasts such an iconic mascot. Raving Rabbids takes place in graveyards, the Wild West and a beach, sometimes been a theme in the discos, but there's no cohesion to these locations, like one day having a single theme and changing the next day. Instead, it's a hodgepodge, that's right, a hodgepodge, which is a real term of locations which I suppose works better so people aren't bored. Rather, less bored than they already are. Shouldn't the game stop players from being bored, not the environmental design? The amount of days does nothing but spread thin the veneer of crazy places to do crazy things in. The graphical fidelity isn't much to write home about either, but the poor animation is especially cringeworthy in the arena, with low-res JPEGs dancing around in the audience. I saw better image quality in Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped! What else were we expecting? Crash Bash Racism?!
That's enough of that.
Rayman Raving Rabbids isn't that bad a game, even if it dissolved my spleen and turned my semen into mashed potato. Had it been better paced, more rewarding, and used more jokes than simply screaming, this would be a decent alternative to the most popular and recognisable party games. Rayman is insultingly miscast, treated only as a cargo ship to ferry along the ho-hum gameplay and an aggravating antagonist. It'd be better to just have the Rabbids in their own game, which eventually happened because Rayman's teats were squirting dust at that point. I can only recommend this to people who own a Wii, are tired of Mario Party, and see the corrupting energies of Crash Bash, or, and this isn't a joke, if you or your children are dyslexic. No, seriously, a study has shown that this game helped dyslexic children with their reading skills. It hasn't helped mine, otherwise the reading this script would be a lot better. So, good job Ubisoft. Now stop making stupid collector's editions of things and I might have a modicum of respect for you. Well, probably not.
And now for something completely different.
Well, I guess that's it for the Rayman franchise now. Damn, I need it.
No, Undertaker, I'm finished! Fucking piece of shit! Piss!
That's enough of that.